Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Feel Inside Yourself. My name is Ulla Goldberg. I'm the host of this podcast. I'm a life coach and mentor, and I help people to create their dream life with ease and flow and stop hustling and stop being in stress and just live a fulfilled, happy and healthy life. And today it's in English because it's the first Tuesday of the month and I have an interview guest. And my guest today is Kathleen Cameron, a Canadian coach and mentor. She built a multi-million-dollar business. She is the CEO of her company. She leads her team. She is the mother of 2 girls, and she still has time for herself. And she created all the success with ease and flow. And in this episode, I asked her how she did that, how she does it to live a fulfilled and relaxed life and having all the success. And it's a wonderful and inspiring interview about self-love, about thoughts, about manifesting, about mindset. And I just want you to have a lot of fun listening to it. If you want to know more about Kathleen, please check out the show notes. I linked her Instagram profile, her YouTube channel, and you can get in touch with her there. She also has her own podcast. It's called Manifested, and you can find all the show notes or all the info in the show notes. If you have any questions, please check out today's post on Instagram, and you can leave questions there or comments there and give us your feedback. And now I will stop talking, and I wish you a lot of fun with this inspiring interview. Hello, everybody. So this is the first Tuesday of the month, and every first Tuesday I have an interview guest, and this time it's Kathleen Cameron. I'm very happy that you are here today. Thanks a lot for taking your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Kathleen, you run a multi-million-dollar business. You lead a team. You are a mother of 2, and you still have time for yourself. How do you do that?
It's a decision really to, decide what I want in life and the way in which I want to have it. I believe that success is available to us all in whatever capacity we want to have it in. We just learned to have it in a way that is stressful and overwhelming and busy and tiring. And so I choose to have it in a different way, in a way that makes me feel like I have fulfillment and presence and joy. And so this is where I'm here with you today, but I'm in a beautiful setting, taking some time to myself. I'm not going to do anything tomorrow. And so it's all about balance for me.
Very cool. So it has not always been like that for you, that you had enough time for everything you wanted to do. Did that change?
Yes, of course. Yeah, no, the old version of me, the one prior to learning about manifestation and teaching it myself, was really, really in the hustle and grind of life. And I always felt like I had to be busy and be productive in order to be successful. So even, motherhood, my career, my studies, I had two babies at home, working a full-time job as a registered nurse. I did a master's degree part-time, and then I started a side business. So it was like I was piling on the things that made me feel like I was successful, that I was good enough, that I was worthy, that I was contributing. So I was trying to fill a void through doing. Mm-hmm. And then when I started studying manifestation, it was like, okay, what if I stopped doing so much, achieved more, and then able to experience the actual joys of life more, instead of, because I wasn't doing anything fun. I wasn't relaxing. I wasn't now I love going to the spa and I love going to the beach and things like that, hiking. I wasn't doing any of that. I was sacrificing all of that to do more that I thought I needed to do. So it's been a massive shift for me. But this is what I do now and how I teach people to live.
That sounds so great. And what you just said sounds like me a lot, 3-4 years ago too, hustling all the time and doing this and that and never really relaxing and enjoying life. And there's so many people out there that think it's not possible to have both, have the success and have the time for yourself, or have the children and be relaxed. So I thank you very much that you bring this into the world to see, like, no, you can have the multi-million-dollar business, you can be the mom, you can have time for yourself, you can be healthy, and that you show us that it's possible.
Yeah, and I really believe in wholeness of the individual. And I think in the past, I didn't want to put too much time and energy into certain things in the fear that my business would sacrifice. And now I understand that, like, when I actually put the time into me, into my consciousness, into my beliefs about me, when I put time into my health, when I put time into rest and relaxation, that's the feminine energy that allows me to move forward. And that's how I've collapsed time and quantum leaped my life, is from allowing myself to just surrender and let.
Yeah. You said something important. You were very in like the masculine energy and now you're more in the feminine energy. Can you say a few things about what is masculine energy? What is feminine energy, and how can we shift it?
Yeah, many people think I'm talking about men and women or male and female, and I'm not. I'm talking about energetics, ways of being and existing. And so the masculine energy, we know it to be the hunter, the gatherer. The masculine energy is the go out and make it happen, get the job done, do the work. That's the action piece. The feminine energy is the nurturing piece. The feminine energy is the growth. The subconscious mind, Neville Goddard refers to it as the womb of creation. So creation actually happens in the feminine energy, not in the masculine. So you have a bunch of men and women in this world in that masculine energy, moving their bodies towards the realization of their goals. So they're creating goals and they're working hard for them. But then I'm over here creating ideas and belief systems in the subconscious mind, creating from that place. Then I move my body. And then guess what? You have exponential growth. This is how you then shift. You rise in your consciousness first, and your 3D physical world follows. That's the feminine. So it's a balance of both. It's not about meditating all day, every single day. If you want to achieve an extraordinary life, then you've got to meditate, visualize, journal, work on your belief systems and your subconscious programming, but then move your body towards the realization of your goals in a really fulfilled and free way.
Yeah.
Giving yourself time for you, of course.
Right. Yeah, I think you can see the polarity in the world right now. We come from this masculinity and like doing, and now people are like, okay, I go into the feminine and I don't have to do anything anymore to manifest what I want. I'll just sit there and wish and hope for it. So it's not like that. Right?
No, I always say manifestation is spirituality meets peak performance, or spirituality meets personal growth and development, if you like that better. So it's about being present in the now, which is the spirituality. It's recognizing your oneness. It's feeling there is a higher power that is here to support you and guide you. That's the spiritual part. And then you move into the personal growth and development, the peak performance. How do I think? Who do I think I am? What are my habits, and how do I change them? So it's really the combination of those two things that work together to create the dual forces, which help you to exponentially grow.
Right. That's actually what really inspires me about you, is that you connect both, because there is coaches that are like, you have to do and hustle and blah blah blah, and you need a strategy. That doesn't feel right for me anymore. And then there's people like, you just lay back and you just relax, and that doesn't feel right either, because I'm kind of like you. I love doing stuff, I don't want to just sit around all day long and do nothing. I mean, I like taking action, but then more getting into the balance. So that's very cool how you teach it. Yeah.
Well, what's really beautiful about that too, then, for me, is how can you decide how much work you like to do that feels good for you? Like, how many hours a day do you want to work? How do you want to feel at the end of your workday? And once you decide that, so let's say you say, 4 hours of work is what you want to do. Like for me, my team knows I don't want more than 3 Zooms in a row. If I have more than 3 Zooms in a row, I notice my energy shift into the masculine. I notice that I move a little bit out of spirit. I feel it in my third eye chakra. And then it's time for me to take a break to do something else to move back into my feminine. So it's deciding what type of work you want to do, how long you want to do it for, how do you want to feel, and then sticking to it. So you don't say you're going to work 3 Zooms and then you're going to go, okay, well, I don't see the results in my business, so I'm going to work 6. It's sticking to it and then focusing your energy into the feminine.
Right. Yeah, that's a very important point, to stick to what you actually want to have and not like switch it back out of panic, like, okay.
Yeah, because I see people all the time. The first thing that they will do, if the 3D physical world doesn't show the results that they want yet, okay, it will always show, it will always match, but you get a little impatient. So then you're like, well, I better work harder. I don't see it yet. I better like spend another 2 hours. I better send 10 more messages. Like I better, and then so you move out of the feminine, you move out of the spirituality back right into your masculine.
It's what we learned. We learned like take more action if the results are not what you want to have. Nobody ever told me before to be like, okay, visualize for 10 minutes and it's all you got to do, so
go to the spa. Like I'm literally like, go to the spa, go to the beach, go buy yourself something and just surrender, because you're holding your manifestation too tightly. And when you're holding it too tightly, you're gripping it and you're resistive to it. So let's loosen our grip. Let's not hold it so tight, and let's just touch it lightly. And that's, Thomas Troward language, but it's a beautiful analogy for me, because anytime I feel like I'm attached to it, I get into the masculine. So detach from the outcome.
Right. Yeah. That's the hardest part. So, when you say go into the feminine, you can journal, you can visualize. It's also doing something. How important is it to do nothing every once in a while? And was that difficult for you, or was it difficult for you? It's something I struggle with, doing nothing at all.
Yeah, I would never do that before September of 2019. I would have never just done nothing. Like even I would do two things at the same time. So we would be like, okay, do you want to watch a movie Friday night? I'd be like, yep, let's watch a movie. And I'd pull out my textbook and I'd be working on my course while watching a movie, or on my phone answering emails while doing XYZ. So now for me, it's about just really doing nothing. So like last night I got here, we're in beautiful, beautiful Malibu, right on the water here, which is my favorite place to be. And I wanted to give myself a few days to just be. And so I'm going to take some calls today, obviously. But, last night getting here, I just sat outside and like stood at the water and like just be and just let. And it's so important for us to do that. So I'm spending my day doing that tomorrow. And I did have to tell myself why I need to do that. I did have to tell myself the importance of it and actually commit to myself to do nothing. So there are some people that are more in the feminine that have like this knowing doing gap where they know what to do, but they don't do it. That hasn't been my problem. I overdo. So it's been the opposite for me. So it's like, it's time for me to take a couple hours off and just do nothing.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. It's for me.
I know, that's why. That's why I said it. So I'm like, I think she's gonna resonate with this.
Yeah, I do resonate with it. But when I tell my clients to like, okay, try to do nothing, then they say I can't, because uncomfortable things come up. When you like turn everything off, no music, no nothing, no cell phone, and you just sit there, things come up. So what advice can you give people if they're like, I cannot do nothing because it feels so uncomfortable? Just like,
well, that's the reason why we need to do it. Think about our phones for a minute. There is this thing with our phones, and I feel it myself, where I'm attached to it. I'm so connected to it. And so when I sit here and I try to do nothing, I feel the urge to pick up my phone. That is just a habit. That is just a pattern in the program. I'm used to grabbing at my phone, picking up my phone, checking my phone. But there was a time where we didn't have phones at all, and so it's not that you need the phone, it's that you're used to the habitual act of grabbing the phone. Right. So what we want to do is we want to make like sitting and being and doing nothing more of a habit. Like I remember I went walking through Central Park when I was in New York City. When was I there? In December. And there was a man sitting on a bench and he was doing nothing. He didn't have a newspaper. He didn't have a book. He didn't have a phone. And he was just sitting there doing nothing. And my first thought was like, what is he doing? And then I'm like, wait a minute. I see what's happening here. He's okay with just sitting and enjoying life and witnessing it and observing it. He was just in his awareness. And because I'm not used to that necessarily, I was thinking that he's doing something wrong. So I switched the thought right away, and I thought, I'm going to do that today. I'm going to sit and I'm going to do nothing today. And I did. Later on that day, I went and I sat and I think I got like a tea on an outdoor patio, and I just sat there and I just thought. And so much comes when you just allow yourself to think. This is how you become aware of yourself. You know, you can't shift who you are and become the best of yourself if you have no clue. So when you're always on your phone and you're on calls and you're with your kids and you're doing this and you're doing that, you're never self-witnessing. You're never observing. Yeah. And how are you ever going to shift if you don't know who you really are?
Right. I think it's a coping mechanism for most people. If you keep yourself busy all the time, you don't have to think about yourself. And so
you don't have to face your demons.
No, right. Very cool. There's one other thing I want to talk about. I love your explanation about people pleasing, or like what people pleasing actually is. And I know there's so many people out there that like to please other people, that don't want to hurt other people's feelings. And I had it in a call today where my client said she holds back because she doesn't want to hurt anybody else's feelings. So can you please share what people pleasing really is and how we can stop it?
Yeah. So in my opinion, I had a realization. I used to identify as a people pleaser. It was like, I love to make people happy. And I actually said it in a way like, I'm a good person. I like to please people. Like I really want people to be happy. That's my goal. But when you really ask yourself the question, why do I want to make people happy so much? What you realize is that it's really not about the other people, but it's actually more about what they think of you.
Right.
You might have to cut that. Hold on. Let me just close this down. Did I close it? Yeah. It's more. So people pleasing is more about you making people happy so that those happy people like you. That's my experience. When I actually dove deep into it, I'm like, why do I always do what that person wants? Why do I always say what I think they want to hear? And why do I want to make sure that they're okay? It's because I want them to like me.
Right.
And so it's more about that I didn't like myself enough, that I pleased other people in order for other people to like me and fill the void within myself. Mm-hmm. So I can still make people happy in my life. I mean, I'm not going to necessarily stop trying to make people happy, but I'm going to not need them to be happy for me to be happy, for me to be loved. So if someone doesn't like me, I'm okay with it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I like me. And so it really changed when I started to give myself that people pleasing, like, let's please me now. Let's give myself what I need to hear. Let's be my own best cheerleader. Let's give myself the love and attention. And then what happens is you need less from other people. So people pleasing, making other people happy is one way, but then the other way that you just said is that you don't want to hurt people's feelings. You don't want to piss people off. You don't want to upset them. Why? Because you're afraid they're not going to like you. Why do you need to be why do you need to be liked? That's the question that I would ask.
Right.
Yeah.
More like we really want to be part of a group and we don't want to be left out. So if we change, we're afraid they won't like us anymore or kick us out of their circle. So that's the fear behind it.
There is a livingness in being yourself. So when you can just express yourself as who you are and be comfortable around somebody, that is when we are in a true state of freedom and ease and flow. We don't have to say what people want to hear. We don't have to be what people want us to be. We can be our unique individual selves, be comfortable and confident in that. And then you just exist in life. That's the ultimate let and surrender, is just to be you. Mm-hmm. And it's actually the easiest thing because it's who you are.
Right. Yeah. Theoretically, it's the easiest thing. So the word that always comes up when we talk about this is self-love. And sometimes I think like, okay, that's a big word. Like, what is self-love? You know, it's used so often. What is self-love for you? How do you know that you love yourself?
Okay. So how I like to talk about love is that love is an emotion. So when we talk about fear, when we talk about anger, when we talk about love, we're describing a way in which we feel. It's a way in which we exist. So when we say we are in love, we are experiencing the emotion of love. So when I think about my mom, I think loving thoughts. When I
Mhm.
think about my kids, I think loving thoughts because I feel the emotion of love when I'm with them and when I think of them. So it's an experience, it's a
Mhm.
way of feeling. And so self love is asking the question, when I think about myself, when I'm with myself, do I feel the emotion of love? And so I
Mhm.
don't want us to be giving it away. We don't have to always say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I'm in love with you. You know, that's great. This is how we express our feelings. When we say that like when I say, I love you, what I'm saying is, I'm feeling the emotion of love right now and I want to express that to you. So we say,
Mhm.
I love you. But we're really just expressing our emotions. So how can you turn that all around, all that love that you have for all these other people, the love that you have about this world that we live in, and how can you put that love towards yourself? So do you ever have loving thoughts about you? When you think about how amazing you are, do you feel pride in how amazing you are? Do you look in the mirror and go, wow, like you're so amazing? Not many people do that. We look in the mirror and we actually do the opposite. We actually like talk bad about ourselves. We critique ourselves. We look at our weaknesses, usually around our physical appearance. But our physical appearance is not who we are. It's just the vessel that we're in. So for me, it's turning it around then and having a loving perspective of myself. So how can I give Kathleen more love today? How can I give her more compliments today? How can I be her best cheerleader today? And that's a big, big shift, but it's not hard, but you have to do it intentionally.
Right. Would
Yeah.
you also say, because you said like when we are in front of the mirror, would you say this is a very good exercise to start with more self-love, like really get in front of a mirror and talk to yourself like that?
Absolutely. The first step for me is to get in front of the mirror and pay attention to what your thoughts are, because we don't want to
Yeah.
just get in front of the mirror and just start saying nice things. You have to become an observant of what you think when you, sorry, you have to become an observant of what you think when you look in the mirror. So I just paid attention. So when I look in the mirror, what do I say? What do I think? What do I focus on? And I would notice things. I would be like, oh, look at this. I got to change that. And oh, my hair looks bad. And all of these like negative thoughts. So then once I started to like write them out a little bit and I started to pay attention to how critical I was in that mirror, I made an intention then to do the opposite. So to go into that mirror and say, okay, what are the things about me physically that I think are beautiful? And
Mhm.
so at first it was like my ears and my eye color, like I would focus on the things that I wasn't judging anyway. Like I wasn't judging my eyes and my ears before, right? But I started there. And then it was like, okay, my hips
Mhm.
before I would judge them. So then I would intentionally go there and be like, okay, how can I see and comment on the beauty of my hips today? And so it would be looking in the mirror and going, wow, look at your curves. Like those curves, they're you go in and then you go out. You have this beautiful curve to you, Kathleen. And that started to change the narrative about what I think of my physical appearance. You know what started to happen too, which was really, really interesting, is I started to really see outside myself other women who were larger that I started to think were beautiful, that I didn't think were beautiful before. So I
Mhm.
changed my perception of what beauty was. I changed the beauty standard for myself in this world.
Right.
And so now I actually think like plus size, curvier bodies are way more beautiful because I trained myself to believe that because I'm in a plus size, curvy body.
Right. Yeah, well, the people that listen to us right now, they probably don't know, but this is a very, very cool story because I met you. I think when things like really shifted, like the first time I saw you, you look so different now. And
Yes.
I can also tell, like, from your breathing, you breathe differently. It's very different.
Oh yeah.
And maybe you want to tell the audience a little bit because you did not try to lose weight or anything like that. You went on a journey to be healthy and on a journey to longevity. And I really,
Yeah.
really love that. Maybe you can tell a little bit like, how did you
Yeah.
change? your life, your thoughts around that?
Yeah, there's been two pivotal changes and moments that shifted. So the first change and shift in my awareness was in September of 2019. So I'm somebody who has been yo-yo dieting for 35 years, since I was like 7 years old, like long, long, long time. And so it was always about shrinking my body to meet an ideal. And I always believed that in order to be successful or to be loved or whatever, that I needed to shrink my body, be thin. And so every year on my birthday, I blew out the candle. My ask every single time I blew out that candle, I wish I was skinny. I wish I was skinny. I wish I was skinny. And so in September 2019, I was 37 years old. I was paying attention to myself, and I had an aha moment. Success is thinness. This is what I believe. And so my life is going to perpetuate that. I'm only going to achieve success if I'm thin. Wow. Why would I believe that? Why would I want that to be true? I got to go lose a bunch of weight then. And not because I want to be healthy, but because I think that's what I need to do. So I decided to scratch that off my list. And I said, nope. Instead, I'm going to love myself in the body that I'm in now. And so that's when I decided, for the first time in my life, I'm not going to lose weight. I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to be me. And I'm going to achieve what I want to achieve. And so that was like a little test. It was like, let's see if I shift this belief, what happens? Well, I built a multi-million-dollar business as a plus size curvy woman, not exercising, not shrinking her body. And so I proved that it was the belief that was limiting, not the size of my body that was limiting. So it's what we believe about the thing, not the thing itself. Anyways. And then I went along this journey and I continued to achieve success. And I focused on self-love, and I started traveling the world and celebrating, and I just like kept existing. But I didn't give myself any focused attention on health, because to me, for much of my life, health was being skinny. So I just kind of let go of that. But in May of last year, so almost 1 year ago, I got pneumonia. I had a life-saving lung surgery, was in the ICU, was in Miami for 4 weeks away from my daughters. And I had this awareness that my body needs to be taken care of to last me a long time, not to be thin, not to look good, but to be taken care of to last me my lifetime. And so that's when I shifted from vanity, what I look like, to health and longevity. And so I just started existing then as a healthy version of me. I reprogrammed my subconscious mind, of course, but so now it's about walking, it's about exercising, it's about eating healthy, nutritious foods. I actually don't crave really, really gross food anymore. I don't want to emotionally eat. Like, I crave healthier foods like salads and vegetables. Yesterday we went and got food, and I wanted to get veggies. Not because I think the veggies are going to help me thin my body, but because I desire them and I like them and I want to eat healthy things and nutritious things. So I'm shifting in that way. And yes, my body looks different. But the most important thing that I want to make sure that everybody understands is that my body's becoming a reflection of who I see myself as on the inside. And it's not about meeting a beauty standard or ideal.
Right. And you are so beautiful. I mean, your sister sent me a picture that I can use for the social media post about this podcast, and it's so sexy. Like, everybody can look at it. It's such a nice picture, really.
You're gonna make me go red. Stop.
Yeah. So that's, yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
you're a big inspiration. Like, all the pictures you take, I always really love them, because I can see your self-confidence. I can see your health. I can see how much fun you have with like fashion and dressing up. So I think you're a very good role model for that. And please, everybody, look at Kathleen's pictures. They're beautiful.
You're so sweet. I appreciate you.
So it's a very inspiring story. I love that a lot, how you change your belief. I think most women know this, like being on a diet or like not liking their body. And so this is, for me, a very inspiring story that everybody should hear. It's your belief. It's not, anything appearance on the outside. It's what you believe inside.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be good enough if you don't think you're good enough, so you're never going to be done. Even the skinniest person or the whatever person is never going to be confident.
Well, and I always separate who we really are from our vessel. Like, spirit or your soul, whatever language you want to use, has no shape and size, has no color of skin, has no gender, has no nothing. Like, we're all the same. And so when you really disconnect from whatever your story is about the physical thing associated with you, this is where you really, really soar, and you understand that you're not limited. You're limited only because you think you are. Stop thinking you are and you'll soar.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's very, very, very cool. Thank you for sharing that story. So you have 2 daughters. Do you use all the material you know about mindset and manifestation in the upbringing of your children?
Yes, but indirectly.
Okay.
So the way in which, this is what I believe, the way in which our children learn is through the way in which we are. And so I'm not going to sit them down and do a lesson with them on manifestation. I'm going to live manifestation. In order to teach my daughters to be confident, I exist as a confident woman. In order to teach my daughters to be powerful and successful, I be powerful and successful. So everything in which we are, our children will become that. And not even our children, but everyone around us. So I really think that the more that I can be the light, the more other people get drawn to the light and then want to become the light themselves. So Reagan created, one day she came up to me, and I did not teach her this, she just did it. She created a little envelope with little pieces of paper, little notes all in there. And on the outside it said, this envelope is for me. And she says, Mommy, I did this for me, and you can use it too if you want, if you ever need it. She goes, but this envelope is for when I'm feeling bad about myself. I come in and I pull out a little note with a message for myself that tells me how amazing I am.
Aww,
and the little notes say, like, you're beautiful, you're strong, you're powerful, you're fun, you're, all these different things. I didn't teach her that, but she learned that from me.
Right.
So that's what I believe.
So what if contrast shows up like in the world? I mean, they go to school probably. So if, I don't know, teachers or the world tell them you got to work hard and you got to be better at this and better at that. Is it like that how do you deal with that?
Well, there's always going to be multiple ways in which suggestion is offered up to us, especially for children with the subconscious mind still open. Suggestion from everywhere influences them. So they're being suggested ideas and morals and belief systems from their teachers, from their friends, from social media, from TV, from their parents. I do believe that from their parents is the most influential because you spend the most time with them and you look up to them the most. So I just make sure that I'm super, super focused on building that for them. But I have open conversations with my daughters about what they believe and how life is and what do they expect to happen. And, what are the ways in which they feel good and what are the things that make them feel bad and stuff like that. So I'm very acutely aware of both of my girls and what impacts them negatively. And then I work with them through open dialogue on how I can support them with that.
Right. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So if they want to have something, would you also use the language of like, okay, you can ask God or the universe for it and you can manifest it? Would you use that language?
Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. They talk about, like, Reagan, she wants two Frenchies, a gray one and like a black one. And she has the names for them and everything. And so she's always like, I'm manifesting my Frenchies, Mom. And she is the most persistent little girl I have ever met in my life. So I have a feeling one day she'll have two Frenchies, and I don't want them, but I feel her influencing me because she's so powerful in what she wants and she sees it. So, but yeah, no, they know what I do. I don't think they can fully express it, kind of explain it to you what I do, but they get it. And the really beautiful thing too is, like, a couple of my daughter's friends' parents watch my events and watch my YouTube. And so it's spreading now.
Right.
Like, this message is spreading. So their friends are experiencing it. And, we had a birthday party for one of my girls last year. And one of the things we gave them in the loot bags was gratitude journals for kids. And I have confidence journals for my girls and stuff like that. So it's just a different way of moving them in a positive direction in life, but not, I don't teach them lessons and sit down with them, but I do it in my own type of way. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay. I have one last question. There is this belief or saying, whatever you want to call it, pride comes before the fall. So I think a lot of people, like, I hear that, and I know that from myself too. Like, a lot of things in my life are going very easy and smoothly, and some people think it's
Okay.
luck. I know it's not luck, but then sometimes I hold back that, like, to tell people how great things are, because then the sentence comes in, pride comes before the fall. And I heard that
What
from
does that
clients as
mean?
well.
What does that statement mean? Pride comes before the fall. I've never heard this.
You haven't? It means
No.
that, like, uh if you are too proud, or if you tell people it's going too good, you will fall at one point.
Oh, I don't believe that.
So is it
I think maybe that statement is more about the ego. So I really believe that the ego is an important and an essential part of the human experience. And so I see the dichotomy between being in spirit, being in a state of flow, and being in your ego. So the ego to me is the personal mind. It's the thing that motivates you, that inspires you. It's where your goals, your dreams, and your aspirations exist within the ego, so they can move you forward. But I also think that there's a side of the ego that we can get too caught up in. We want too much for ourselves. We want we're too we make it about ourselves, that we're so neurotic. We make it about us. As somebody's upset about something, and like it's like they're upset with me. I did something wrong when it has nothing to do with you. So to me, I think if you stay in a state of spirit as much as you can, and you use the ego in a really, really healthy way, that statement to me doesn't make any sense. I think what that statement is maybe saying is stay authentic, stay genuine, stay true, stay honest, stay in spirit, and stay focused on being the best of yourself in the attainment and the desire to help others, and you won't fall. But if you make it about you, and you be neurotic and you be all up in your ego, then you're going to fall. And so it's just about honest success versus dishonest success, maybe more so.
Maybe it has something to do with faith also. Like, people are afraid that they lose their success. It's going so good. Oh, there has to be a time where it's not going to be so good. And I think that has to do with faith, right? If I have faith that I can always accomplish what I want to have, I can manifest what I want to have, then I don't need to worry, right? I don't need to be afraid of it.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, you got to work within the laws. So the law of rhythm says that whatever goes up must come down. Tide goes out, tide goes in. So there's always a rhythm and a cycle to life. So if you understand that, then you can just ride the waves of life. You can just ride the cycles. But then to me, that's not a rise and then a fall. It's a rise and then a fall and then a rise back up. So to me, it's we're actually going to continue to rise in this up and down way. So I'm going to go from where I am today, and in 10 years, I'm going to be up here, but the road isn't going to be this joyful ride up the whole entire way. It's going to be a little bumpy. And so understanding that and being able to be the permanent fixture amongst the waves of life, to me, is the way we want to exist.
Right.
Yeah. But if you believe that they're going to fall, then you're going to fall.
Oh, yeah. It's always what you believe. What you believe is true. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that true?
That's so cool. So if people want to know more about you and they think like, oh, Kathleen is so inspiring, where can people find you? Like, you have a podcast, you have Instagram. Yeah. Where is the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, so Instagram's probably the first place. People ask me for a business card and I'm like, Instagram, at Kathleen Cameron Manifests. But I also have the Manifested with Kathleen Cameron podcast. And then I also have a YouTube channel. If you just look up Kathleen Cameron or Manifested, you'll find either.
I'll put all the links in the show notes so people can find you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for taking the time, Kathleen. It was a pleasure for me. As always, you're a very inspiring person. And thank you for sharing this gift with the world.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.